When things get hard, good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. We all have moments when life feels like a mountain too steep to climb. Times when everything feels like it's falling apart. Times when no matter how hard we try, the results don't come. And it's in those moments when things get hard that our true character is tested. Life was never meant to be easy. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Diamonds form under pressure. Trees grow stronger by standing against the wind. And we grow when we face the hard stuff, not when everything is smooth. When things get hard, you have two choices: give in or get up. You can either let the moment define you, or you can define the moment. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you, Challenges aren't roadblocks, they're stepping stones. Pain is not punishment, it's preparation. And setbacks, they're just setups for comebacks. Remember this: you've made it through 100% of your worst days so far. You're stronger than you think, and capable of more than you believe. So when things get hard, and they will, don't give up. Dig deeper, breathe, focus, keep going. That's how champions are made. Thank you. Hard times are more than just difficult moments. They are defining moments. It's easy to smile when life is going your way. It's easy to feel confident when the results match the effort. It's easy to be kind, patient, or optimistic when you're well-rested, supported, and everything is in place. But what happens when the comfort fades, when pressure rises, when failure knocks on your door, or when nothing seems to work despite your best intentions? That's when your true character is revealed. Character isn't built on your best days. It's built in the trenches of your worst. It's during the sleepless nights, the setbacks, the disappointments, and the painful choices that you discover who you really are. When everything is stripped away, the titles, the applause, the confidence, even the people, all that remains is you, your mindset, your values, your heart. Your willingness to keep going. Hard times act as a mirror. They reflect back the truth of our internal world, not the version we wish others to see, but the one that exists underneath. Do we react with panic or patience? Do we blame others or take responsibility? Do we quit at the first sign of difficulty, or do we persevere? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary ones. Some people will fold under pressure. They will lash out, hide, or make excuses. That's not because they're weak, but because their foundation hasn't been tested and strengthened yet. Just like a building needs to be stress tested for earthquakes or storms, people need to face challenges to know what they're truly made of. Strength isn't the absence of struggle. Strength is the result of surviving struggle. Every time you face adversity and choose integrity over shortcuts, perseverance over quitting, or humility over ego, you are shaping a character that cannot be faked or borrowed. Think of people you admire, not for their fame, but for their grit. The ones who showed up when it was hardest. The ones who stood tall when everyone else walked away. Those people didn't become admirable in easy seasons. Their character was forged in the fire of difficulty. They bled. They fell. They got back up, and over time they became stronger than the struggle they faced. It's important to understand that hard times don't create weaknesses, they expose them. And in that exposure lies a hidden gift, the opportunity to grow. When you see what parts of your character bend under pressure, you also see what parts you need to strengthen. Maybe it's your patience. Maybe it's your ability to manage fear. Maybe it's your willingness to ask for help. Whatever it is, the struggle gives you a map to your own development. You cannot control every circumstance life throws at you, but you can control how you show up in those moments. Your consistency, your mindset, your honesty, those are choices, and they matter more when it's hard than when it's easy. Anyone can be positive in sunshine. It takes real courage to keep faith in the middle of a storm, and that's the point. Character isn't about pretending you're unaffected. It's about staying true to your values despite being affected. It's about holding on when you're tired, staying kind when you're frustrated, choosing discipline when you feel like giving in. Those choices made in the dark define the person you are when the lights come back on. So the next time life throws a challenge your way, pay attention. Not just to the outcome, but to yourself. Who are you becoming when things get hard? Because that's the version of you that matters most, the version that endures, the version that leads, the version that leads, the version that lasts. Growth is not born out of ease. It is born out of discomfort. It's a common misunderstanding that if life were just a little smoother, a little easier, a little more comfortable, we'd grow into the best version of ourselves. But comfort is a trap. It feels good, it's safe, it's familiar, but it rarely pushes us forward. Discomfort, on the other hand, is the soil where growth takes root. Think about the most meaningful lessons you've learned in your life. Chances are they didn't come during moments when everything was perfect. They came through struggle. Maybe it was the heartbreak that taught you self-respect, the failure that taught you discipline, the rejection that taught you resilience. These are painful, uncomfortable moments, but they are powerful teachers. Biologically, growth of any kind requires tension. Muscles only grow when they are stretched and torn during resistance. Trees grow deep roots by standing firm against wind and weather. The same is true for human beings. When we face emotional or mental discomfort, stress, fear, uncertainty, our inner strength is being challenged. And with that challenge comes the chance to build new capacity. But here's the thing, most people run from discomfort. It's a natural instinct. When something feels hard or awkward or scary, the first impulse is to avoid it, to procrastinate, to quit, to turn back. And in doing so, they also avoid growth. Because you cannot expand your limits without first meeting them. You cannot build courage without facing fear. You cannot become more without doing more. Discomfort stretches us. It forces us to step into unfamiliar territory, and in doing so, we discover new aspects of ourselves, capabilities, thoughts, emotions, and strength we didn't know we had. A difficult conversation can grow your communication skills. A challenging job can grow your focus and problem solving. A personal crisis can grow your emotional depth and empathy. None of this comes from comfort. It comes from pushing through the uneasy, unfamiliar parts of life. One of the greatest lies we're told is that things should feel good all the time, that if something is uncomfortable, it must be wrong. But the truth is, discomfort is often a signal that you are in the process of transformation. It means you're doing something that matters, that you're stepping outside of the small, predictable box you've been in. Growth doesn't whisper. It stretches, it pulls, it demands effort. Imagine someone trying to learn a new skill, playing an instrument, running a marathon, learning a new language. In the beginning, it's frustrating. You feel clumsy, confused, slow. It's uncomfortable. But that discomfort is a necessary part of the process. It's the resistance that signals you're working new mental and physical muscles. Over time, that struggle becomes skill. That awkwardness becomes fluency. But it doesn't happen if you stop the moment things get tough. And this applies far beyond skills. Personal growth, the kind that shapes who you are, also lives in discomfort. Setting boundaries, taking responsibility for your mistakes, choosing to forgive, walking away from toxic environments, starting over, none of that feels easy, but all of it leads to strength. Every time you lean into the hard part instead of avoiding it, you take one step further in your own development. We live in a world that prioritizes convenience, speed, and immediate gratification. But real growth requires patience. Requires sitting with discomfort long enough for it to teach you something. It's not about suffering for the sake of suffering. It's about understanding that the struggle is part of the story. That without pressure, there is no breakthrough. So when discomfort shows up, don't run. Pause. Breathe. Recognize it for what it is, not an enemy, but an invitation. An invitation to stretch, to learn, to become. Because the version of you that you're working to become, you won't meet them in comfort. You'll meet them on the edge of your limits, in the moments when you choose not to back down. Life is unpredictable. It throws obstacles your way when you least expect them. A sudden failure, a broken relationship, a financial setback, a health scare, or a dream that doesn't unfold the way you planned. In those moments, it can feel like you've lost control. And in some ways, you have. You can't always control what happens to you. But what you can control always is how you respond. Your response is your power. It's the space between what happens and what you choose to do about it. And that space, although often overlooked, holds everything. It determines whether you rise or fall, whether you grow bitter or grow stronger, whether you stay stuck or move forward. That response is your responsibility, and it's the foundation of resilience. You don't get to pick every circumstance, but you do get to pick your attitude. You get to choose whether to respond with anger or patience, despair or hope, blame or ownership. And these choices aren't just emotional, they shape your reality. If you constantly respond with defeat, you train your mind to expect failure. If you respond with curiosity, you start seeing lessons instead of losses. If you respond with courage, you begin to rewrite your story from the inside out. Think of a storm hitting two different trees. One bends with the wind, roots anchored deep. The other resists, rigid and unyielding, and eventually snaps. The storm is the same, but the response makes all the difference. The same applies to us. How we respond to pressure, adversity, and hardship determines whether we grow stronger or collapse under the weight. Sometimes responding means being still, taking a moment to breathe before reacting. It means not letting your emotions hijack your judgment. Other times it means taking action, doing the hard thing, the uncomfortable thing, the thing you'd rather avoid. Response is not always about doing something grand. Sometimes it's simply choosing not to give up today. It's choosing to get out of bed, to try again, to speak kindly when you'd rather lash out, to keep going when every part of you wants to quit. The truth is, reacting is easy. Reacting is impulsive, automatic, and often emotional. Responding takes strength. It requires self-awareness and discipline. It asks you to pause, assess, and then decide intentionally. That's why so few people do it consistently, because it's hard. But it's also where your power lies. When things get hard, your mind will search for someone or something to blame. That's natural. But taking responsibility for your response doesn't mean blaming yourself for the situation. It means recognizing that you are not helpless. Even when you feel broken, overwhelmed, or cornered, you still have a choice. And sometimes that choice is the turning point. You may not be able to stop the loss, the failure, or the delay, but you can choose what meaning you attach to it. You can decide whether this moment will make you bitter or make you better, whether it will shrink you or stretch you. You can let hardship harden you, or you can let it strengthen your resolve. Over time, your responses shape your identity. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, grace over grudges, or hope over hopelessness, you build a stronger version of yourself. And the more you practice responding intentionally, the more it becomes a habit. Eventually, you become the person who stays calm under pressure, who leads with strength, who others can count on in crisis. Not because you've never faced pain, but because you've learned how to respond to it with purpose. The world may not always play fair, and circumstances won't always go your way. But that doesn't make you powerless. In fact, your greatest power lies in your response, in the way you rise when it would be easier to fall. In the way you keep choosing to be the author of your story, no matter how hard the chapter. When faced with a challenge, it's natural to feel blocked. The instinctive response is often frustration or fear, as if the obstacle in front of you has appeared solely to hold you back, to deny your progress, to test your limits. It can feel like a wall. Tall, immovable, and unforgiving. But the truth is, challenges aren't meant to stop you. They're meant to shape you. They are not walls meant to trap you, but stepping stones meant to elevate you. Every challenge contains within it the potential for growth, the opportunity for a lesson, and the invitation to rise. But you only see that potential if you stop seeing difficulty as the enemy. That shift in perspective, from seeing obstacles as barriers to seeing them as part of the path, is what separates those who stay stuck from those who evolve. Think of any achievement worth having: a successful business, a strong relationship, personal discipline, inner peace. None of these come without challenges. In fact, the very challenges along the way build the strength required to achieve those things. The hardship trains you. The resistance sharpens you. The setbacks humble you and teach you to be patient, persistent, and resourceful. If everything were easy, you'd never be forced to stretch. You'd never be challenged to think differently, to act boldly, or to dig deeper. But when you hit a challenge, whether it's external like financial hardship or internal like self-doubt, you're confronted with a question. Do you stop here or do you step up? Challenges don't just ask for effort, they ask for growth. They ask for growth. To get past them, you usually have to become more than you were before. More focused, more disciplined, more compassionate, more courageous. This is why challenges should never be taken at face value. What appears to be a problem on the surface is often an invitation in disguise, a disguised opportunity for transformation. Consider how many people have found purpose through their pain, direction through their detours, or strength through their struggles. The obstacle didn't end them, it redirected them. It showed them what they were made of. It revealed a new layer of potential. And that potential was only unlocked because they chose to climb, not quit. It's not about pretending challenges are pleasant. It's about understanding that they are necessary. Just like a student must pass through exams to progress, life tests you through adversity. And with each challenge you face and overcome, you build confidence, not just in your abilities, but in your resilience. You begin to realize that no matter what comes your way, you have the tools or you can develop them. But you'll never know that if you treat every challenge like a dead end. You have to learn to ask better questions. Not a why is this happening to me, but a what is this trying to teach me? Not a how do I make this go away, but a how can I grow through this? Those are the questions that lead to strength, awareness, and progress. Of course, some challenges feel more like mountains than stones. They're heavy, intimidating, and take time to get past. But even mountains are climbed one step at a time. And with every step, every small act of persistence, every decision to keep going, move forward. Even slow progress is still progress when you refuse to turn back. You may not be able to choose the timing or shape of the challenges that come your way, but you can choose what to do with them. You can stand still and stare at the wall, or you can start stacking every lesson, every effort, every breakthrough like stones beneath your feet, and rise. Because often, the thing you thought was in the way is the way. Pain and struggle are two things we often try to avoid. As human beings, we are wired to seek comfort, to look for the easiest route, to cling to what feels safe. But the truth is, no meaningful journey is free from discomfort. Whether you're chasing a dream, building a relationship, healing from loss, or simply trying to grow as a person, pain and struggle will inevitably find their place in your path. And not because life is unfair or cruel, but because these experiences are essential ingredients of transformation. We live in a world that glamorizes results. We celebrate the success story, the breakthrough moment, the achievement, but we rarely talk about the lonely nights behind it. We don't see the tears, the doubt, the repeated failure. We see the mountain summit, but not the bruised hands and aching legs it took to climb there. Yet, those hidden battles are the very parts of the story that matter most. Because without them, the victory would mean less, and the person standing at the top wouldn't be who they are. Pain has a way of stripping away illusions. It brings us face to face with what's real. When you go through something deeply difficult, a betrayal, a disappointment, a loss, it breaks you open in ways that comfort never could. It forces you to reflect, to reevaluate, to ask questions you may have been avoiding. It can be raw and unrelenting, but in that rawness, there is also clarity. You begin to see what truly matters, who you are, what you need, where you've been holding back. Struggle does something similar. It builds grit. It teaches persistence. It strengthens your inner voice. There's a kind of wisdom that only comes from having to fight for what you want. When everything is handed to you, you don't build that mental muscle. But when you've had to earn every step, when you've had to rise after every fall, something deep within you starts to shift. You stop being afraid of hard things because you know that you've already survived them. You develop resilience, and that resilience becomes part of who you are. Some of the most powerful, compassionate, and wise people you'll ever meet are not the ones who've had it easy. They're the ones who have suffered and chosen to turn that suffering into something meaningful. They've been through the fire, and instead of letting it burn them down, they let it forge something stronger within them. That kind of strength can't be faked. It can't be read in a book or learned from a lecture. It has to be lived. There is no growth without struggle. You don't develop emotional maturity without experiencing emotional chaos. You don't discover your strength without being tested. You don't understand joy deeply until you've tasted sadness. These contrasts are part of the human experience, and rejecting them doesn't make life easier. It just makes it more confusing.
When you begin to accept that pain and struggle are not detours but part of the main road, you begin to approach life differently.
This doesn't mean you should seek out suffering. It means that when it arrives, and it will, you don't have to fear it. You don't have to think that something is wrong with you or your journey. Oh,